Alrighty, everyone. This is meteorologist Timmy Albertson here with you guys for a little bit of an update on what is going on not only in the tropics but also what we have going on across parts of northern Minnesota. Now we have our newest tropical storm, and that is Tropical Storm Lee, all the way out in the open waters of the Atlantic. Earlier on today, it was a tropical depression. It's since increased its winds just enough that it's now a tropical storm, and it got the name Lee. So let's go ahead and take a look over at Lee really quickly here. There it is. Now, there is some indication that it may already start to be kind of developing a little bit of an inner core, which might allow it to maybe intensify, maybe just a little bit more than what's expected right now. 45-mile-an-hour winds is what it is estimated to have at this point. Again, you can see pretty much out in the middle of nowhere, but it's going to kind of go on this northwesterly track over the next couple of days, courtesy of a little bit of a ridge that's kind of in its way. But the amount of wind shear is also kind of low right now, and it's going to be somewhat moderate, but it will actually decrease later on as we go towards the weekend. Not only that, but Lee is then likely going to go over even warmer waters, and that could allow it to maybe intensify even more so, likely into a major hurricane by the time we get towards the weekend. Again, a major hurricane is a Category 3 hurricane of winds of at least 100, over 110 miles an hour. And again, we have the categories. I showed the graph last time. I'll show it again some other time there. But that is Lee right now. So looking pretty good on the satellite imagery. We'll see what happens over about the next 24 hours or so. Maybe it'll try to intensify a little bit quickly here. Obviously, the Hurricane Center is expecting that Lee will become a hurricane probably sometime by early Thursday morning. So honestly, probably more so tomorrow night. So with that in mind, that's what we're keeping an eye on. Now, you can see with the track there, it only goes out to about 120 hours, so that puts us to about Sunday afternoon. What happens beyond that right now is still a little uncertain, and mind you, there probably will be some changes here and there, at least in the overall forecast track. So it'll certainly be an interesting one to keep an eye on, especially as it gets maybe closer towards the Bahamas, but obviously still looking a few days out. All right, that's the tropics right now. Pretty cool, huh? All right, things get heated up. And by the way, I mentioned this earlier too, that this came from the Cape Verde Islands, came off the West African coast. Those tend to like to get a little strong, especially this time of the year. So that's Lee for you there. Keep an eye on Lee. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the storms that we could be seeing firing up here across parts of Minnesota later on. Now, widespread showers and thunderstorms are going to be likely across eastern Minnesota, back into parts of northern Wisconsin, as we go through pretty much now, at least into the evening hours. Kind of the main thing with these storms is that a couple of them could be on the strong side, and of those strong storms, the few that do become strong, it's looking like the main thing with them will maybe be the possibility for some large hail and some strong winds. But again, we're only kind of talking about an isolated, more or less kind of a situation. So not every storm that fires up is going to have those conditions, but of some of the stronger ones that we might try seeing developing, that we're kind of already seeing them a little getting a little close in some spots, but those are going to be kind of the main things. And again, this is mainly going to be as we head our way through this evening, now through the remainder of the evening. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the screen over here. We'll take a quick little look. As I mentioned, we do have a severe thunderstorm watch that is now in effect, and that includes the Arrowhead of Minnesota, going all the way down to Rochester, Minnesota, and right down to the Iowa border, as well as western Wisconsin. This goes until 11 o'clock. And we are seeing a couple of stronger storms. Well, I don't want to say stronger, but we are seeing at least a couple of storms across the northern part there, the Arrowhead area, just right off to my screen there. There we go. Again, some of those kind of were getting a little bit close to what we in meteorology would kind of consider the severe criteria, or at least that's how it appears on radar. It does seem like it's kind of maybe gone down just slightly, but there are still some kind of parts of that storm that do kind of indicate there may be a little bit of small hail, maybe some very locally gusty winds around 40, 45 miles an hour. But the area that we're going to be watching, though, as we go through the next kind of a couple of hours is going to be this area right up in here. That's where we could be seeing, again, some additional storms firing up, like what we're already seeing down around Baxter and over towards Little Falls. Now, these storms, as mentioned, are going to kind of fire up over, the next couple of hours or so, and they'll just kind of gradually work their way. What's actually happening is we have a cold front that is very slow moving, and it's located about right there. So you can see those storms are just kind of firing up right ahead of that cold front, and that front will kind of slowly be pushing its way to the east as we go through the rest of the evening hours. This is all attached to an area of low pressure, which is kind of centered right now at about north central Minnesota. So again, over the next couple of hours, going to be watching as these storms kind of fire up, and then they'll kind of work their way toward the east. Again, main thing with them is going to be the possibility for again some hail and maybe some locally gusty winds. So we'll keep an eye on those storms. Hopefully these storms hold out long enough for our weather chat tonight. Should be kind of an interesting one nonetheless, as we have Lee to talk about, and we'll also have some storms to take a little bit of a look at. So severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect for a good portion of eastern Minnesota and into western Wisconsin. That goes until 11 o'clock this evening. The storm is kind of already firing up down around the north of St. Cloud, and then obviously over towards Park Rapids area. We'll watch those storms as they kind of track their way to the east here. Again, some hail and maybe some gusty winds will kind of be the main thing with these storms. A little bit more than normal. A lot of storms tend to, well, produce some gusty winds, but again, we're thinking maybe some of these storms could have, 60, 65 mile an hour wind gusts and maybe hail 1 inch or maybe a little bit bigger with them. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that. Otherwise, that's your quick little weather update. See you back here in just a little bit for the weather chat.